about to start part 2 of our breakout series. My name is Brianne Smith. I'm the marketing coordinator for the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center. And it's my pleasure to introduce Erik Huffman. Erik Huffman is the founder and CEO of Handshake Leadership. Erik is also the Pikes Peak Region's 2018 Young Entrepreneur of the Year and the Colorado Springs Business Journal 2018 Rising Star. Thanks, Rodney. He is a doctoral candidate focusing his research on information technology, innovation, and cyber psychology. He is also a Microsoft certified educator, level 2 Google certified educator, and is Security Plus, Project Plus, HIT, Cloud Plus, Mobility Plus, Server Plus, and CYSA Plus certified. Quite a credential. His passion is in building better organizations and helping further the body of knowledge of leadership in cybersecurity. Handing it over to Erik Huffman, Human Hacking, the Psychology Behind Cybersecurity.
Thank you. Thanks, I appreciate that. So among everyone here, I just got a simple question I want to ask before we start. By a show of hands, who here thinks we are winning the quote-unquote cyber war? So I gave this same talk in Washington, D.C., and a lawyer told me, at this point, I say, well, that's less than half. So this is a different kind of talk. I go to a lot of these events. I love these events. However, the problem is they all start to sound the same after a while. You have this new technology, this amazing innovation that's coming out, but however, nothing changes. So if you think about this real quick, the speed of innovation, technology innovation, and the rate of attacks, one would think, you would assume with the speed of innovation, the rate of attacks would decrease because we have newer firewalls, we have newer IPS systems, IDS systems, antivirus, all kinds of stuff is out there now. So the rate of attack should decrease. However, that has not happened. It's actually been the exact opposite. The rate of attacks have increased. So this talk, if you're an engineer, if we have any engineers in here, is designed to make people a little uncomfortable. Because, there you go. So keep in mind, this talk is about more biology and psychology than cyber. This is living my best life, my best year ever. This has been such a blessing for me. And my research is starting to take off. My research is starting to gain some life in this new realm of cyber psychology. This is the number, well, this is about a week old. This is the amount of records stolen since 2013, when they started keeping this record. This is since 2013. If you looked at this today, it's probably even higher. So one thing to note about this is how many records every day are lost. So we're looking around 7 million records every day that are lost. So what we hear about a lot, we hear about the Equifax. We hear a lot about Yahoo. We hear about Ticketfly. That is quite literally the 1% of attacks. The number one attack vector, by far, last year, according to the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report, has been phishing at 94.7%. Web attacks, web applications are 1.7%. Literally every other kind of attack is what's left. We are still losing to the Nigerian prince. That is 100%. That is the honest. So, cybersecurity is more closely related to psychology than it is computer science. This is the notion that I'm putting forth for you throughout this entire talk. So, I did a quick study. I did some research. I looked at a bunch of hackers, and I looked at my IT management brethren. And what I wanted to see, what I wanted to find is alignment. With research, if everything goes perfect throughout my study, the IT managers and the hackers, what the hackers are doing and what we are doing would align absolutely perfectly. That is totally not the case. The hackers, they self-identified. I want to put this out there. The hackers self-identified as white hat, black hat, or gray hat. I didn't dive deep to find out if someone that says they're a white hat is actually doing something illegal. And I didn't look to see, well, you identified yourself as a gray hat. What illegal activity are you doing? So I didn't ask that. So they self-identified themselves. So, looking at a SANS report, every one of them, well, 91% say that their attacks, their method of attacks for the hackers, 91% start with humans, they do not start with technology. Going forward even further, these are the exact numbers that was used for IT managers, security professionals, 263, 250 hackers from DEF CON, at the DEF CON event in Las Vegas. 1/3 of the hackers say going towards email is the easiest way for them to access your networks. Followed closely by 21% saying email was the easiest path. So we're combining, we're looking at about 60% that are saying something along the lines of phishing you. 74%, they stated that opening an attachment is the top ways to enter an organization. 74% are saying, hey, we're still phishing you. So this is me during my research study. I'm like, so this Nigerian prince email is still getting us. I went back, I presented this same talk at NASA. Lucky enough it's at NASA. This is them. This is them. We're, as odd as this is our current threat landscape. I will never discourage or say, hey, all we need to do is drop everything we're doing, focus on phishing, we will be fine. No, because the 1% that are actually, nation states hacking us, if we allow them, if we stop looking and we allow them to get in, it would be a whole lot worse than what it is right now. But, however, us small business professionals, let's not get caught up in the 1% and forget about the literal 94.7%. And there's a reason behind this. We're going to talk about the reason behind this and why this is. 73% say that your firewall and your antivirus is either irrelevant or obsolete. They don't really care about your firewall. They don't really care about your antivirus. To talk nerd for a quick second. Viruses these days, they have what's called a serial number. And your antivirus reads that serial number and it categorizes that and says, this is ABC 123 attack because of this serial number. They've innovated. The bad guys have completely innovated. Every serial number is different now. So your antivirus, even though it knows that that virus would have that serial number, the virus I get has a different serial number than the virus you may get. So, therefore, your antivirus, 73% of them, say it's obsolete or irrelevant. They don't care. However, that doesn't mean all of them. It's not 100%. Some of them definitely care, but a majority of them do not. And much like the toothpaste commercials, 4 out of 5 say humans are to blame. And I agree with it. I agree with it 100%. So before my previous life, I was a dean of a college. What a good colleague that's standing in the back of the room right now. He worked with me. We got in a panic. Someone came to my office and said, Eric, we really need you. Something bad's going on at the front desk. And so immediately in my head, I'm like, which student is it? And I'm like, I had like 5 good students in mind. And I'm like, man, this is same thing happened over and over again. However, it was come to find out we had a ransomware attack. And I'm like, well, crap. So I go back, I grab John, who's in the back of the room. I'm like, hey, help me out right here. We have a few computers that have ransomware. How did this attack happen? It was a phishing scam that came across like an Amazon invoice. Say, hey, here's your Amazon invoice. Click on the link to see your Amazon invoice. Well, the link was actually ransomware. One of the people that got attacked with ransomware said, well, I just kept clicking on it because it wouldn't open. I'm like, really? So I went from this computer to this computer to try to get this to work. I thought there was a problem with my computer. So I'm not going to call anyone out by name, not going to talk about any institution by name, but that's kind of what happens. And 4 out of 5 is a human error. But it all boils down to trust. Trust is the foundation for security. If I trust you, I will allow you access to things that untrusted sources don't get. If I trust you, I'll make a copy of my house key for you to watch my house while I'm out of town. If I don't trust you, I won't do that. That is what this all boils down to. And when we start talking about cybersecurity, we start talking about trust, start talking about privileges. Today, about 70% of the world's population has access to the internet. What does that mean? That means our attack surface is larger than ever. I'm gonna speak frankly for 1 second here, and I don't mean to offend anyone. However, all of us here, we want to be cognizant. We want to improve our cyber posture. Some of those that should be here aren't here. And if I want to get access to your information, obviously I will not come to you because you will be a harder vector to attack, a harder person to attack. I will attack a family member first. So my mother, I love her to death, Southern woman, feeds everyone. Wants to feed people that we're out in the store, she's just shaking hands with everyone, everyone's a friend. So if someone wanted to hack me, they would hack her to get to me. That's the game that we're playing right now. I'm a football fan. If I was going to run a running play, I am not going to run at J.J. Watt, who's one of the best defensive players in the league. I'm going to go the other way because it's an easier method to get through. So if I wanted to hack your small business, why would I attack you when I could attack the secretary and get the same information? This is what the bad guys are playing. So let's go back to those numbers. If they say your firewall is obsolete, if it's irrelevant, they may not mean that it's just not working. They may mean your secretary is putting your stuff at risk before you are. That I can get your information offline, I can phish you and get behind your firewall. To bat wits with even an old firewall, you gotta be so good. I mean, you gotta be unbelievably good. But to phish you, I just need to write a well-articulated email and have you believe me. And there's methods to do that, and we will talk about that. Plain and simply, in regards to social engineering, we've ignored psychology. In terms of cybersecurity, we have ignored psychology. This needs to change. What happened? Initially, a cyber breach happens, we diffuse responsibility. This is where we are right now. So that same ransomware attack happens at where I used to work. Kind of the thought process behind that, speaking to the individual, they say, don't we have a spam filter? Why that didn't go to spam? Why didn't the firewall catch that? So immediately, not to place blame, but everyone does it. You detract yourself from where's the problem to where was my help? Where was the technology we have in place? You spent $10,000 on a firewall. You spent $1,000 on this antivirus or this internet security suite. It did nothing to help me out. But what you don't know is it probably blocked about 10,000 attacks the past 6 months. But the one that got through, you simply got fooled. And so there is a technique called human patching that us cyber nerds, we talk about all the time, where you try to patch technology, you try to patch human error with some technology to help with your human error deficiencies. This is where we are right now. How do the bad guys get us? The careless attack vector, that's just you just not caring where you are. You know, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna surf the dark web because I'm interested. I'm gonna do it at work because I'm not at home. So I'll put work at risk. You know, the careless attack vector. The comfort zone is where I was when I was a corporate IT manager for Walgreens before Target got breached. You know, you don't get the 1% breaches every day. Your organizations, you may not be targeted absolutely every day. So what happens 2 years without a breach, 3 years without a breach? You get relaxed. You know, some people, you know, they drive 5 years without an accident. Next thing you know, they're cooking while they're driving. They're replying to emails. You know, they're doing their nails. It's unbelievable. You become careless. If you become careless and you get in that comfort zone, that's the attack vector as well. Next is where we really fail as decent people, is the helpful attack vector. So there's a video out there, and I encourage you all to watch it. It's absolutely fantastic, where a woman calls in to a call center and she puts on a crying baby video. She calls into this call center, acts like a distressed mother, and the person just helps them out because they, you know, want to hurry up, get them off the phone. I don't have kids myself, but I have nephews and nieces, and sometimes they are relentless. And on the other end, there's this thinking, I just want to help. Let me help you out. Or if you're working in a secure facility, you're just holding the door open for someone. So I was at a conference in this, I'm not going to call the organization out. I do a lot of speaking. I went to my rental car, I got locked out. I'm like, crap. Like, how am I going to get back in there? So what's called piggybacking my way in. Someone was going into the door. I ran up like, hey, can you hold the door? They held the door and I walked in. You know, I had a legitimate reason of being there, but that's not typically what you should do. That's part of that helpful attack vector. You, as a decent person, you are going to want to help me. I'm going to use that against you. Next is the fear. Some people, you know, they conduct business by fear. Some people conduct, you know, nefarious cyber attacks by fear. You know, just like Dr. Murray spoke about, with the current phishing attack that says, hey, we have pictures of you on adult websites and we accessed your camera so we know what you were doing when you were looking at those adult websites. We will publish those onto the web if you do not pay us. You know, kind of that fear. You fear what's going on. And they prey on that. So, how does this work? And then for a second, we're going to really nerd out for a second. And I apologize. We're going to really nerd out for a second. But how does this work? Become likable. If I write you an email, you will not read that email like some dark teenager in his mother's basement, drinking Mountain Dew, eating Doritos, just sweaty for no reason, just sitting there sweating with some super deep voice. You don't read in that voice. No one reads in that voice. You read in your own voice. That's what your brain is meant to do. You read in your own voice. There's a few situations where you don't. But for the most part, you do read in your own voice. So I just have to become likable. I just have to write a very well-articulated email that you will read. Then command authority, just deliver me this, deliver a gift maybe I'll help you out, say I have some business ideas I can help you out with. Then you take advantage of that consistency. If I really wanted to get to your organization, it's not one and done. I'm gonna be in there for a while. I'm gonna really work your psyche. You see me a lot. If you see me a lot, if you hear from me a lot, you begin to like me. If I begin to act like you begin to like me because you like yourself. So if I figure out how you write and how you articulate, if I articulate the same way in the same manner, maybe have the same political beliefs as you begin to like me. And because you begin to like me, you like the consistency, so you really begin to open yourself up to get fooled. So social validation, we all know what social validation is. If your organization is going through a change, I articulate that change in that email to know I know about you, I know about your organizations, and I deliver you a deadline. Ransomware is fantastic at this. So what ransomware is, it encrypts your entire system, your entire computer, except the operating system, because you have to be able to log onto your computer, and you have to be able to access the internet. So your browser's not encrypted as well. Everything else, all your documents, all your pictures, all your financial statements, everything is encrypted, and you cannot get access to it. You can call any of us cyber nerds in here right now to say, hey, can you decrypt this? No one can do it by hand. That's how good this encryption stuff is. It's just impossible. And by the time it gets done, it's not even valuable no more. It's like 20 years from now. But ransomware, the new variants of ransomware, it deletes files every hour. Then after 3 days, it deletes everything. So you have a deadline of about an hour because you don't know what's going to be deleted. But by 3 days, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Whatever was on that computer is gone. If it's connected to other computers, whatever's on those computers is gone as well. So what we do, we weigh risk and reward. Quick story time. About 2 months ago, I was getting in a flat tire. I had a nail in my tire, and I was just out driving around. That's what I do when I really need to clear my head. As I'm coming up with talks and stuff like this, I just go driving around. And as I'm driving around, I get a nail in my tire. So my tire is low, and so I'm like, crap. Where am I at? I'm somewhere in Colorado. I'm not going to downplay anywhere in Colorado. I'm born and raised here, but I don't know where I was. So I found the sketchiest looking convenience store ever. Like, it was beyond sketchy, and I'm like, well, I need to get air in my tire. So I put air in my tire, I use my card, I drive away, get home, fix it. So what happened, about a week later, I get a call from Int saying that someone's using my credit card at Nordstrom, spending probably more money than was in my entire account. And I'm like, I'm not in Denver. I don't shop at Nordstrom. I'm not a fashion person. Anyways, you guys can tell. And so I'm like, okay. They said, well, we got your back. We're going to give you the money back as we conduct our investigation. Fantastic. What's the risk? The risk was to possibly have my money stolen, but the bank has my back. In that situation, there was no reward. So let's put this in regards to a phishing email. The risk of the Nigerian prince is the Nigerian prince is going to steal absolutely everything in your bank account. However, your bank most likely will have your back. What's the reward? That $1.8 billion that I need to hold for the Nigerian prince. So my risk is looking minimal. Or if I want to surf the dark web at work, what's the risk? The risk is work has a problem. The reward is I find out the world is actually flat and I can prove it. This gets to a point where the climate that we are at, the climate that we are in, we've minimized risk. They've maximized reward. So you're open to becoming a victim here. So how many people here, by a quick show of hands, think email is a formal setting? Less than half yet again. If right now, as you sit, and right now as I stand, I am harder to hack because my guard is up, I'm in front of a lot of people, slightly uncomfortable, and you're listening. You don't know me. Some of you guys do. Most of you don't know me. You're paying your attention. You're at a conference. You're here to learn. This is a formal setting. One of my best friends, we send memes back and forth every day. Email has gotten really informal. So if you are in an informal setting, you are easier to hack. If you are more comfortable, you are easier to hack. And behind the keyboard, looking at your email, but we all understand, it is really easy to hack because that is not a formal setting. Tell me I'm wrong. You know, I love Morgan Freeman. He has like the coolest voice in the history of ever. So you do not read in that super dark, creepy voice. You read in the voice I want you to read it. In that informal setting, you are completely vulnerable if I'm well articulated. I use the Nigerian prince because, you know, we all kind of get some laughs and giggles about it because we all have seen it before. But however, the modern phishing attacks, the modern era, they're very well articulated. You know, they may put the link with SBDC spelled wrong. It might be SDBC or something like that, because they have to, because, you know, that link's taken. But everything written in it might be very well articulated. And due to this was a very simple exercise. I was like, all right, I just put a picture of Morgan Freeman, just type, hey, you're now reading this in my voice. Everyone does it. I don't know what voice you read it in. I don't know how you think Morgan Freeman sounds, but I'm pretty sure we all had that same exact experience at that same exact time. Let's get nerdy. This is the limbic system in your brain. What does this do? This is fight or flight. The limbic part of your brain controls emotion. It does not have any ability to comprehend language. You don't speak from your limbic system. So if you've ever been in a situation and you like something's wrong, there's this gut feeling something's wrong, that's your limbic brain talking to you. So if someone ran in here really crazy, waving a gun, immediately we think fight or flight. That's limbic brain. That's limbic brain talking to you. This does not work behind a keyboard. This only works if there's a video playing. So you're watching a movie, the movie, a jump scare happens, and you jump and you duck. That's your limbic brain saying, hey, all right, hey, we need to duck, we need to get out the way, I'm scared. When you look at the Nigerian prince email, you don't think, oh my God, you know, here he is again. No. So biologically, as a human being, as a person, we're dealing with a cyber environment. This is not a tree, this is not a forest, this is not a desert. This is something we created. This is something we created very quickly. So, we do not know how to act behind this. So, as you think about how you behave, it's all deductively reasoned. You're reading that email, you're reading that picture in Morgan Freeman's voice because you were told to do so. Your brain saw the picture, it sees pictures first, then it reads, it comprehends language. You were told to do so, so that's what your brain does. Your brain also has what's called the hypothalamus. What the hypothalamus is, we can think of it like a bunch of cables that plug together. If you see your son, you see your daughter, you see your husband, you see your wife, you get this feeling of love. You see this picture, it connects the dots like, hey, this is love. Your body gets the endorphins and you feel love. It doesn't matter if they're physically there, it doesn't matter if it's a picture. When you get addicted to a person, and I don't mean any offense by any of this. If you've ever been in a bad relationship and you're stuck in this bad relationship, but you just can't leave. I know she loves me. But everyone else around you is like, that person is toxic. How are you still in this? It doesn't mean that you enjoy toxic behavior. It's that person making you feel that way, and your brain has associated it with love. So people ask me this all the time. Is love a feeling? Yes, it is. Is it an addiction? Yes, it is. You're totally addicted to your partner. Tried, true, proven, science says it. You're totally addicted to your partner. Doesn't mean anything less about the relationship. It's just how your body works. So if we put this in a cyber environment, this has nothing to do with the cybersecurity realm. This has nothing to do with you being behind your keyboard. We haven't gotten this far. So the bad guy in a cyber war immediately has the upper hand. Because if I walked up to every single one of you, even the people I know and love here, and I say, can I get your credit card number, the CVV, and the expiration date, please? Every single person will say no. Because this works with you. Your limbic brain, your brain works with you. It says, hey, stranger danger. Just like kindergarten, stranger danger. No, get away. However, behind a keyboard, I at least get you to the point where you read. I get to the point where you think about it. I get you reasoning. So when you get back to work, think about this. Every step of the way, you're reasoning. Every step of the way. So when it comes to your employees, every step of the way, they have to reason themselves through these situations. How is phishing still number one? It's because they're just fooling us. This is Criminology 101. General theory of crime. A basic profile of criminals are individuals with lower self-control, more risk-taking, impulsive, short-sighted, and sensitive to others, and seek more immediate and easy gratification. None of that changes. Let's talk cyber for a second. Cyber victims go through 3 stages. Separation, they go through transition, and they go through incorporation. So your employee gets hacked. They may diffuse responsibility. They may be upset at the technology that has quote unquote let them down, because you've spent so much money protecting them, all of a sudden their information is gone. There's a transition period, and then they incorporate that into their life. They incorporate, hey, I've been a cyber victim. They incorporate that into their life. This is the cyber victim model. Let me preface this. Cyber psychology is a brand new science. Most of this blend between cybersecurity and psychology has been done in the last 5 years. This is the model that is current. Follow me along the lines of this. If you're an extrovert, no need to put your hands up. I'm not going to call anyone out. Check 1. If you're agreeable, well, actually, let me talk about myself. I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. This is hard for me. Let me keep it real with you guys for a second. This is hard. I prefer to sit at home, write my research papers, and do that in the quiet privacy of my own home. My good friend Rodney Gillette, he does a great job getting me out. He's like, hey, Eric, you got to come in here. They got to know who you are. So I'm working on it. Am I agreeable? If you ask people that work with me, they might disagree. But am I conscientious? Yes. Am I emotionally stable? If I'm not watching Michigan play football, yes. When I'm watching football, I'm totally emotionally unstable. Yes, go blue. Am I open to experience? Obviously, I'm here in front of you. Obviously, Rodney can pull me out into a crowd of people. Yes, I am. I love roller coasters. If you fit into all 5 of these categories, you're prime candidate. Am I saying, because this is where this talk gets really bad, am I saying because you're emotionally stable, you're a cyber victim? No, I am not. I'm not saying that. However, have you ever spoke to someone that at that moment they're emotionally unstable? They are hard to deal with. I need you to click this link. You tell me you're gonna send me money, then you tell me you're not, then you're talking about your husband, then you're talking about your wife. It's hard for me. I can't work with that. I need someone that's gonna be there with me. Be emotionally stable with me through this. Let me help you through this process of stealing all of your company's data. Help me real quick. I need you there for me for an hour. This is because your emotion is based on your physical state right now. If you're happy, if I get you here and you fit into these categories, if you're happy, I can work with that as a cyber criminal. The second all of this begins to fall apart and you're not an extrovert, if you're not open to new experience, if you're not willing to send someone money over the internet, if you can't try that for me as a cyber criminal for 1 second, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult for me. But if you're happy, I can work with that. If your physical state, if you're having a really good day and you're in that comfort zone, no cyber breaches for 2 years. You're going fantastic. Business is on the rise. It's coming close to Christmas. You're expecting the biggest fourth quarter ever. I can work with that. You're happy. You're talking, you're reasoning. In that voice that you talk to, that you read in your head now, sounds a whole lot more cheery. And I got you. This is what hackers have to have. Skill, which is very questionable. We're gonna close on that. Persistence, they gotta not really be willing to give up. Greedy and stealth, that's also something we're gonna have to talk about because they don't need all of this. Plain and simple, then we're gonna move on. Every waking moment, your brain uses all old associations and it formulates current thought, it formulates your current emotions. That is what your brain does every day. None of this works in a cyber environment unless there's a trauma. I recently finished my PhD. Thank you. There was a time, it was my second attempt. My first attempt, I literally got 2 years in, 2/3 of the way done. University of Colorado. My grandmother, Big Mama, she passed away. That broke me. My fiance at the time left shortly after. I got very depressed very quickly. This I know for a fact works because I've lived through this. In a cyber environment, unless there's trauma. Because when I left my first doctorate, I failed out. It wasn't because I couldn't do the work, it was the fact I did not want to do the work. You could say, hey, Eric, your entire dissertation has to be your name on a paper, turn it in. I would not have done it. Because I did not want to log into class. I really boiled that down to that. It was the login screen for my online class because I knew I wasn't turning in work. Have you ever been in this situation where you've been broke? I mean like super broke, and you're just not gonna check your bank account? You've ever been so broke? If I don't open the bill, it ain't due. It's due when I open the letter. That's this. This is this. When you log in, when you read, when I know my classes, I'm like, dude, I am ultra failing this class. I've turned nothing in. I just could not get myself to log in. I let my house, almost lost my house because I just didn't want to pay for it because it's a house I bought for another woman. I didn't want to pay for it no more. And so it just got to the point I just don't want to log in and pay this bill. That is this. And if you're in a good situation, if you feel good, you just got, hey, ACTA just sent me an email saying, hey, congratulations, we invited you to speak at this conference. I love email. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna keep checking this email. Everything's good. And I'm reading and I'm reading and I'm happy. You're more vulnerable then. This is the point. Hacking humans is cheaper and it is easier than every other attack vector out there by far. So is your firewall, antivirus, and all that stuff critical? Yes. However, do not forget about the 1%. Do not forget about the 94.7%, which is you, which is your employees. As we've innovated, they've innovated. The bad guy has innovated. Let's break this down. This is the future. Did you know you can rent what's called a botnet, which is a whole, like, think of a data center. You can rent a data center and use that to attack a person. You can use that to attack a company. I'm not giving any ideas out here. Definitely not. However, if where I work, if Handshake leadership wanted to attack Firma IT to prove a point, I can rent a botnet and try it. Do I have to code anything? No, I don't have to know anything. I just have to have a little bit of money. You can buy ransomware for $20. You can buy a botnet for $20. And on the bottom, it says about 300 to 900 gigabits per second. I don't know about you, my internet's not that fast. What happens in that situation is you go down, plain and simple. Your network, you're no longer communicating. They flooded your network, you go down. Last year, this is a year on the dark web. This is what they came up with. Remote access Trojan as a service, which means it's just like what you think. You pay someone, they do the work, they provide the virus. Ransomware, if you're a Mac user, I love Apple, I'm a Mac user. Definitely ransomware as a service is a thing there. Ransomware as a service is available via Carmen, which is another variant. It's just another brand name. And to keep this going, I did some digging on the dark web. This is how you buy a botnet on the dark web. This is the dark web. Doesn't look scary. It actually looks a lot like Amazon. You know, you can just press checkout and you get your stuff there. On top of that, I can buy all of your data off the dark web right now. And as important and as beautiful as you are as a person, it's 99 cents. And let's keep this going. There's other ransomware you can get, but let's pay attention to this. If you look at the right, there's a vendor level and there's a trust level. There's levels to this on the dark web. If you're a trusted criminal, you move up. You get to like level 4. On top of that, if you have a hard time deploying it, there's tech support. The dark web is as good as Microsoft. I've dealt with Microsoft. Sometimes it's awful. I'm sorry, I just got to put that out there. But hey, the criminal can help me out. This is the same deal. Vendor level, trust level, all you have to do is purchase it. Who is the criminal? If you're interested, these slides will be available because these are some important names for you. If ransomware as a service, let me pause for a second. Let me get off script for a second. When we think about the bad guy, we always think about the crazy, insane, amazing hacker. But as they've innovated, just like the SBDC, the SBA, has made opening a business less scary, more plausible, better for all of us, they've done the same thing to cyber criminals. You don't have to code this virus. I'll code it for you. Let's split the profit. This is their business model. Ransomware, 75-25 split. What does that mean? I code the stuff, I give it to Vinny. Vinny deploys it out to everyone else. He takes 75% of the money, I take 25. However, Vinny's at risk, I'm not. Because he's actually deploying the virus, I'm just reaping some of the profit. All of it's via Bitcoin, which is a lot harder to trace because, you know, hey, if you just send money to my int account, yeah, that's pretty stupid. If you do it via Bitcoin, it's a lot harder to trace because it's unregulated money. And on top of that, at some point, it's more valuable than the US dollar. And so if we keep this business model, this dark business model operating this way, who's the real criminal? Not to put like, hey, high alarm, everyone's potential cyber criminal, but it's true. It's true, it's just not as hard as we like to make it out to be. If I just randomly started dropping thumb drives, how many of you would pick it up, put it into your computer? You know, congratulations, you have ransomware, pay me. I didn't do any work. This are some of the ransomware as a services that are out there on the dark web. You know, Stampado, Philadelphia, I don't know, someone must be like an Eagle hater or something like that. Satan, if you're into that thing. Frozer Locker, that's not a typo. I want to articulate that. That's how that is spelled. In Raspberry, where RAAS stands for Ransomware as a Service. This is how this looks. It is so easy. It is so easy. You just have how much you want your ransom to be, what's the notes, what do you want to put in there, and what's the capture, because obviously the criminal wants to make sure you're not a cop. Make sure you're not a bot. And then you click create and you're done. That's how easy that is. I'm gonna pick on us cyber professionals for a second. As great as the cyber economy is, sometimes it's still hard to find a job. Sometimes you are a brilliant cyber professional and you just have a hard time finding a job. Just like there's a drug trade, there's a virus trade as well. Do you want to make $30,000? Do you want to make $50,000 a year? Or do you want to make $200,000 in a month passing out ransomware? Just like, do you want to open a business and go through all this work? You want to do it legitimately? Or do you want to be out of compliance and then eventually get shut down? You want to live life on the edge of that? Are you HIPAA compliant or are you not? Like, well, you're not totally HIPAA compliant because get to HIPAA compliance takes a lot of money, costs a whole lot, takes a lot of time. So you work under the radar. This is what some cyber professionals could be doing. I can't find a job. Student loans are piling up. I went to college, I went to college a lot. I have enough credits to have like darn near 2 doctorates so I had to start over. I'm like, man, this is hard to pay. And sometimes I just think, well, if I just create a ransomware, does this go? No, I don't think that. Do some people do? I can totally understand why. We have to reframe what we call the enemy. You have to be on a lot higher alert. Because I just want to articulate to you, through all this, that this biology, this whole brain stuff, you have to reason your way through. Your employees have to reason their way through every attack. And on top of that, the bad guy has made this very, very easy to do. Do they have to be myself, Dr. Murray, Rodney, Forrest, or any John Suda back there? Does anyone, do they have to be us? Do they have to be Abe Thompson? No. Just someone with a little bit of money and Someone that could think creatively. Like, how can I get you to read this? Let me save this as a PDF and call it an Amazon gift card. Like, hey, here's a picture of your Amazon gift card. How many people order stuff from Amazon? Man, myself. Amazon is a fantastic thing. There is nothing wrong with it. But however, because everyone uses it, I'm gonna call this variant of ransomware Amazon credit. Here's your credit because you had a bad experience last time. I'm just guessing, hoping that you click. And your brain works against you. Actually, it doesn't work against you. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't help you. You're not reading in that dark voice. You're reading for that understanding. You sound happy. You're happy, Vinny, at the time. You're just like, man, everything's good. Amazon? Shoot, I didn't know we ordered something from Amazon. Boom. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any questions? Questions? I didn't want to cut everyone off. I'm sorry, is there a hand out there? Oh, I am. Wow. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I'm in the dark net.
Yeah. I'm going to blame it on the light. And no, I'm sorry. I completely. Yes, ma'am.
So the obvious question for me, not really knowing much about any of this, is why aren't we doing something about the dark net? I mean, can we? I mean, you would think, like, I don't understand.
Short answer,
Shut it down.
there's more dark net than there is normal net, by a lot. No. Well, at this point, no, there's not much we can do. I apologize if you didn't hear. The question was, why don't we do something about the dark net? How can we shut down the dark net? Why don't we shut down the dark net type of thing? That is a monumental task. The dark net is about at least 80% larger than your normal net.
Send out some ransomware to the dark net.
So hack the hackers?
Yes.
Why? I don't know.
Do it.
Man, I'm sorry. I left my ransomware cape in my superhero suit. It's a lot harder because it's harder to detect. Quick rundown. I'm gonna run through this quickly. There's something called attribution in criminology. So what attribution is like your fingerprint or a blood sample, some DNA at a crime scene to let you know that that person committed that crime. Behind a computer, everything turns to zeros and ones. And on top of that, there's stuff called spoofing. So I can fake my IP address to look like Rodney's IP address. So even if they catch me, I can say there's reasonable doubt that I didn't do it. It's harder to definitively prove that I did it. And so when you get to the dark web, it's harder to find anyone. Everyone's so hidden. And hiding themselves, it's hard to prove. Even an email, I can spoof an email and it'll look like it came from John or Rodney, and there's nothing anyone can do. Rodney can say, hey, I didn't send that email, even though he actually did, or something along the lines of that. It's just tough. As far as I know, there's undercover agents on the dark web. They're looking to see, find people that are selling legitimately, like selling children and illegal body parts. They go undercover on the dark web trying to find. But as long as that effort, I can't speak 100% confidently and tell you everything that's going on in that regard. Great question. Any other questions? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.